And let's not also forget that you got guys like Craig Robertson in terms of free agency pickups. And I guess I'll use this to try to segue into something a little bit more. We'll talk about the trade deadline. But how about guys like Craig Robertson coming to this team? And we're used to this team being pretty poor in terms of free agents and trades. But honestly, the past couple years, with the exception of, the Bird signing, we've been doing pretty well. Guys like Craig Robertson, Max Unger that we got from the Jimmy Graham trade, Nate Stupar, who's come in and, while not a phenomenal linebacker, a solid play out of him. And at this point, for the Saints, what more can you ask for than solid, consistent play? I think that's definitely the key there. And let me reply to a comment real quick, just letting people know that we are live, and come join us on the Facebook pages. And also make sure I want to get in tonight. Some bloggers I've ruffled some feathers this past week, and that's fine. That's fine. There's no such thing as bad publicity, right? So maybe they'll call in and share why they disagree on certain instances. I'm not going to name names because that's not what we do on here. We're not here to drag people down, even if they disagree. We're not about tearing people down, but we are definitely about giving people the floor and the opportunity to speak their mind. So, should you be listening and rolling your eyes or just simply disagreeing, feel free to call in. I mean, it's all love here. We're all Hoodats in Hoodat Nation. It's all love, brothers and sisters. So let me go ahead and message Brian. He's right at 16 minutes. He's probably tied up at the moment. Might just be coming out of work, but let me just make sure for him. Not that I mind talking all night, but I know some of you people, you're only going to hear my voice and you're just not going to want to call in or listen. I know how it goes. It's okay. It's all love. And see, we were also talking about the guy like Nate Stupar. I mentioned his name. I really want to talk about it. And Craig Robertson. Let me see where he's at on the stats right now. Earlier in the season, he was leading the NFL in tackles. Now, that number kind of dipped when he had to move over to middle linebacker. When he was playing the weak side, he was able to roam a lot more, get some more room. But Craig Robertson right now is 10th in the NFL at 68 tackles. The leader is Zach Brown from Buffalo at 87. But I still think that's a testament to his strong play. And keep in mind the names above him right now. Sean Lee from Dallas, Luke Kuechly, Carolina, Benardrick McKinley in Houston, Jarrell Freeman in Chicago, Bobby Wagner, Seattle. So it's some legitimate names ahead of him. It's not like he is slouching at all. And I realize that he's not playing outside linebacker all the time, but in terms of outside linebackers, he leads the NFL. Now, whether he'll switch back at any given time, I cannot say. It does seem like not just Mark Ingram got benched. I mean, James Laurinaitis is benched. I mean, if you've been wondering where he's at, that's where he's at. And Stephon Anthony doesn't look like he's going to get much more playing time until he can really grasp that 4-3 Tampa 2 zone coverage that Dennis Allen is liking to employ this year. And I don't really see him making that adjustment this season. Should the Saints choose to keep him going into next year, which they should, he is on a rookie contract. He is not costing them a lot of money. He might have time to adapt and change and be a better player. But keep in mind, too, that was his struggle last year. He has never been a great coverage guy. So we need to bear that in mind when we talk about him and we bring him up. And it's not me trying to berate him at all. I never want players to feel like I'm targeting them because I'm not. I might be disappointed in a person's play or something like that, but I'm never going to be the guy to just dog somebody. And I'm sorry. I know there are plenty of people who really like doing that, and I just don't understand for the life of me why they like that. But anyway, so I've not yet heard from Brian, which is surprising, that's okay. We still it's only 10 minutes, and we'll have Patrick Elliott joining us tonight. I know he's got some good stuff. Got a Twitter response, yada, yada, yada. Okay. That's not worth telling y'all on the air. That's more of a random comment. But what I hope to get with Patrick, and if you guys haven't ever checked out Patrick's work in the Who Dat Warriors, he writes a series of articles every week called The Grind Factor. Everybody knows I'm a film and stats guy. I like teaching the game, and I like explaining the game in that form. I'm not a color analyst or color commentary or just a talking head. I really try to, because I enjoy the game so much, I want other people to enjoy it the same way. And that's why I enjoy studying film. I'm doing it right now while talking to you on the air, rewatching the All 22 film and just seeing, like for right now, looking at the fact that the Saints lined up in a 4-3 over and seeing where the Dennis Allen was placing the linebackers in that alignment. I know a lot of fans have asked about the 4-2-5 and the 3 safety sets. I'm not a fan of that. And even here, Dennis Allen showed a lot of 8-man boxes against Seattle, knowing that the run is still their bread and butter even after Lynch. And we didn't do horrible against it. I see right here, just in this play, I'm watching Stupar getting knocked out of the play from a pretty good block by the Seattle offensive lineman on that touchdown there. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that and understanding why things work like they do and getting to really lay that out to people is, I just find so much joy in it. I really, really like that part of the game. So to me, guys like Patrick who are able to explain that in a way that the average person who doesn't study film can understand is, I mean, there's really another word for it. I mean, that's the best type of writing to me. I know some people want to watch Sharp and Skip Bayless argue it out and everything. I'm no desire to go through that drama-infested show. That's not what I'm into. But, oh man, my Cubs are doing good. It is 3-0. Man, I almost wish I was watching the game, guys. I really do. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Oh, and then I've got people mad. My followers are mad. Oh. Oh, I'm such a huge Cubbies fans. I'm not going to tweet about it, though, right now. I'm trying to focus on you guys. I'm so sorry. See, this is why I need Brian. Brian comes in and I'm able to do a little bit of that. Oh, and speaking of, I need to message one more person, guys. I'm sorry. I know. I probably should have all this done beforehand. But see what he has to say. I got a friend of mine, pretty knowledgeable fan, but he's a fan. So, and when I say a knowledgeable fan, I'm talking about a guy who doesn't really study the game, but knows enough. He understands what he sees. And sometimes fans are the best critiquers by the eye test. And what I mean by eye test is you have a lot of people who study analytics like Pro Football Focus, Sporting Charts, Football Reference, ESPN.com analytics, NFL media releases some stuff like that just gets so tied up on the numbers. But it really comes down to, do they really pass the eye test? And a perfect example of that is Zach Strief. Does he pass the eye test when he plays? Zach Strief is a solid right tackle, and consistently through Pro Football Focus, he is going to grade out as arguably one of the best right tackles in the NFL consistently, but in actuality, he's really not. Not that he's bad. I mean, he struggles against speed-type moves, and a lot of that's because he's getting up in age, but because of that, he does allow a little bit more pressures than most right tackles you'll see. Not all. I mean, he's certainly not bad. I know as Saints fans, we use Strief as one of our scapegoats, and that's one of the first people we gripe about. But in reality, he is not that bad of a right tackle, but he is going to struggle, especially getting to the second level on blocks, things like that. So, let's see. Man, you guys are active on Twitter tonight. Whoo! I'm going to need y'all to calm down or bring it all up in here. If y'all going to act crazy, please bring it to the show. Bring it to the show. All right. And let's see, it is 7:24. Guys, I want you to call in. Now, when Patrick calls in, I'm not sure if I'll be able to spread the phone out between you two until he is done. So if you've got something that you want to say, call into Who Dat Confessional right now. RAT, right now, as my grandpa would say. Now, if you don't know that number to Who Dat Confessional is 504-533-8444. And we're going to talk about a little bit of something else while I've got the Pelicans game pulling up. Sorry, guys, I multitask like nobody's business. I just do. Oh, man, Pelicans are winning, too. This is just my day, week, in night. Oh, my goodness. All right. Sorry, guys, I'm getting so distracted. I really apologize. I should not be this way. But let's get into this then. Joe Hayden. A lot of Saints fans were really hoping that trade would go through, and I was not. And I don't usually promote things like Bleacher Report. You know, I have trouble with them a lot of times. But I got to say, this article really opened my eyes. Now, this is a guy who just signed a big monster deal a couple of years ago for Cleveland. And Pro Football Focus, I know a lot of people aren't huge fans, even a couple of friends that I write and talk to regularly aren't going to go to PFF as their first source. But let me say this. I'm going to throw these numbers out there to you. In 2010, Joe Hayden ranked as Pro Football Focus's 6th rated corner. 2011, he was rated 9. 2012, he fell all the way down to 20 before doing a bit of a resurgence in 2013 to 12. But then 2014, it really all went out, where he dropped down to 29th, which is not the worst. It's a little bit worse than mid-range for most guys that you put in his caliber. And then last year finishes as Pro Football Focus lowest graded corner. And I think for a guy, and I think what they ended up having is they paid too much for a guy who is towards the end of his career. A lot of the reason because he's starting to get a little injured. But I was pretty happy the Saints avoided them. They ended up saying that the price tag was too high. Personally, a 4th-round pick would have been the most that I would have sent the Cleveland's way for him, preferably something like a 5th. Reason being is that contract was so big. Now, we could have been able to, put it in a way where we wouldn't have any dead money should we need to get rid of him, that type of deal, which would have been fine. But with Bro coming back and guys like, Rankin's hopefully going to come in and help rotate with Fairley to create more of a pass rush, things like that, we're not really in big of a need to where we have to do that. And I think that's the key there. We don't need to do it, so why force yourself to do it? We're just not in a position where it's feasible. It's just not required. And I think the reason it makes me the happiest is the Saints have made that type of deal too often, maybe not necessarily in the middle of the year, but signing guys like Bird who was successful because of a certain system. That doesn't mean Bird is a horrible player, but he was successful because of a system that was employed around him. Something went unplugged. I'm assuming that was Kyle. But that's why he had his success, because of the system, especially that front four up in Buffalo that was the best in the NFL when he was there, really allowed him to succeed in the scheme that was designed for him. Whereas coming in, he doesn't really have that in New Orleans. I think you'd find the same thing with Hayden. Yes, there's potential for good there, but we already have several players struggling with injuries. We already have several players who are practice squad to backup caliber players who are currently starting in on our team on defense. And you don't want that. I mean, you don't want that to be the staple of your defense, is to have guys like, and this is, like I said, not me berating anybody, but Ken Crawley or Sterling Moore and B.W. Webb, people who either spent time on practice squads or as 4th string and 3rd string players on other teams coming in and starting. And not just because maybe they're not as talented, but one, they have to then learn your system. 2, maybe they're still in the development stage of their career where they're not ready and prepared to start and they feel